Hello, I'm an Englishman, but reasonably so. This is a quick follow-up to the Sony TX660 review on the main channel. There's just a couple of bits and pieces dangling that I'd like to make nice and tight. No big deal. I didn't even make my writers come into the office for this one. This is going to be quick and easy, just like...
Your wife?
Nope, it doesn't get old. I thought it would get old, but I just love that clip. Oh man, that's a good clip. Well, anyways, a couple of things. In the Sony video, I disqualified the Tascam DR07X because it was picking up too much noise. I didn't really give a good example of that noise on the main video, so here it is. This is the noise floor of the Sony TX660 with input gain on medium and no stereo emphasis, so basically all settings normal. And this is the same thing for the Tascam, and keep in mind both audio tracks have been matched in loudness relative to the eventual song that will play. And whilst the room I'm in has a moderate amount of electronics, my cell phone is maybe 10 standard distance units away from the recorder. Now the noise floor of the Sony to me seems higher than the Tascam, which is what I'd expect when you're comparing a pocket voice recorder to a professional field recorder, but the interference noise of the Tascam overshadows its noise floor, and interference noise is much harder to deal with in post. Well, remember, I only had a sample set of one, so your mileage may vary, but for me this was a deal breaker. The second thing I wanted to expound on was the stereo-ness of the Sony. In the main video, you'll notice I spin each recorder 360 degrees to give you a better idea of each recorder's stereo image. From that alone, I could tell the Sony's stereo image was rubbish. By the way, consistently spinning 3 audio recorders whilst operating a camera, making sure everything's exposed and in focus and that you've actually pressed record and properly marked each take is a daunting task, that is.
Unless you've got power!
The Sony's stereo emphasis setting promises salvation. To my ears, this promise of stereo sounded like the word of a traveling preacher in a pinstripe suit wearing a $20,000 Rolex, but somehow he's the one hurting for cash. But fortunately we have science, and I have my trusty goniometer. I have my trusty thing that measures stereoness. So I'm going to put the Sony and the Zoom right here, play a sine wave at 220 Hertz and use power to spin them both. First, we'll do it with the Sony's stereo emphasis off, and I'll play the Zoom's audio so you know what a good stereo image sounds like. And this is best heard through headphones. You'll have noticed that without stereo emphasis, the Sony stayed parked in the center, showing effectively no stereo image. And now let's do that exact same test again, but we'll listen to the Sony's audio this time. Then I'll do it once more with the stereo emphasis on high. I did not change the gain between those two takes. That's just what stereo emphasis does to the frequency response. You could see that it did also add some stereo-ness to the Sony, but it's also all circular. What's that about? The Zoom wasn't really circular. If I were to guess, I'd say that Sony were using some temporal phase shenanigans to manufacture a somewhat wonky stereo image, but that's just a guess. I do think the Sony is an excellent product, I don't think this lack of proper stereo is a fair criticism, considering it is sold as a voice recorder, and after all, most of us only get one of those. However, the stereo image is an important consideration when I'm shopping for an audio recorder, so I figured it deserved a wee bit of examination. Well, that's it.
I'll catch you on the flip.